The doors of a temple swing open. In walks a man wearing a mask, armed with a dagger. This is Aleister Crowley, the infamous occultist here to take revenge on the secret society known as the Golden Dawn. He used to enter this temple as a member, but now he's come to storm it by force and take it over in the name of his master. Crowley steps forward, ready to confront whoever stands in his way, and at the top of the stairs, a figure appears, his rival, Irish poet William Butler Yeats, the same man who actually banished him. Crowley raises his hand, forms a dark symbol in the air, and mutters an incantation. Yeats stands firm and draws a sigil in the air, whispering a counterspell. And what happens next will change the course of the hidden history of the occult world and secret societies forever. But first, here's the real question. What secrets could make people go to such crazy lengths, risking everything in battles and betrayals? What teachings were they really protecting? But before we uncover those secrets, ask yourself, would you have gone this far to learn them? How far is too far? Would you let someone tie a rope around your neck and blindfold you just to join a secret society? That's just the beginning of what's required in some initiations, but luckily you're not going to have to do that today, because we're going beyond the rumors to uncover what secret societies like the Golden Dawn really teach and why they've hidden it all so well. When you think of secret societies, what comes to your mind? Whether it's whispers of world domination, or dark rituals in hidden chambers, or contact with other worldly entities, or bizarre connections to powerful figures, secret societies have always been a hot topic of discussion. But here's the real question. Have you ever wondered what they actually teach behind the closed doors? Now let me tell you something pretty shocking right from the start. What if these secret societies you've heard about don't just hold secrets about the world, but about you? What if their real teachings are designed to help you become something beyond human? My name is Morgue, and I'm an ex-Christian revealing hidden knowledge to wake up the world, and today we're going to reveal what secret societies really teach their members beyond the rumors and conspiracies. And there are many different secret societies, so specifically we're exploring one of the most influential societies in the occult world, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. So how do we know what they were actually doing behind closed doors? Well, because eventually those doors cracked open, members talked, books leaked, and most importantly, we have this. These are the cipher manuscripts. We actually have their secret coded documents that reveal the foundations of their teachings. These are coded teachings that go back centuries, filled with powerful knowledge about the human mind, spiritual transformation, and reality itself. And many of the teachings of the Golden Dawn have shaped the very foundations of modern psychology, philosophy, and spirituality. So forget about the wild rumors and stick with me, because we're going to explore what the Golden Dawn was really about and why they went to such lengths to keep it all hidden. This isn't just a look behind the curtain, it's going to be an experience, as if you yourself were joining their ranks, and by the end of this journey, you'll have discovered a secret that will change your life forever. So here's the real question you need to ask yourself. Are you ready to go beyond human? If you are, then it's time to step behind the veil. Ready? Imagine this. You're in London in 1887, you're cold as hell and having a cup of tea to try and warm up. It seems like an ordinary day, just like any other. But something's about to happen that's going to change your life forever. A secret society is being born, and it's a group that would become the most influential occult organization of the 19th century, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. The founders were William Westcott, Samuel Liddell McGregor Mathers, and William Robert Woodman. And these three guys were deeply involved in secret orders like Freemasonry and the Rosicrucians. The whole Golden Dawn structure was allegedly based on a bizarre set of encrypted papers called the cipher manuscripts. These documents, supposedly packed with ancient rituals, alchemical secrets, and magical initiations, just appeared one day in Westcott's hands. Totally normal, right? Ancient mystical texts just falling into your lap, but we'll come back to that. Anyway, Westcott, clearly not one to keep magical secrets to himself, showed the papers to his buddy Woodman, who was a Rosicrucian and doctor, and he eagerly agreed to help him form the order. See, Woodman gave legitimacy to the order through his established reputation, but the final piece was still missing: someone with a deep knowledge of ancient rituals and magical systems. And that's where McGregor Mathers entered the picture. Now, he was eccentric, probably a little unhinged, but brilliant. Mathers used those cryptic notes to construct a full-blown magical order. Together, the three men turned a dusty pile of encoded documents into one of the most influential occult organizations of the Western world. Now, as they began recruiting members, that's when it happens. You start to hear whispers of a secret society, a hidden order that promises power, enlightenment, and knowledge that reaches beyond the physical world. But here's the catch. How do you spread the word about a secret society without blowing the whole secret part? Well, see, they began spreading the word word of their new order through the underground network of Masonic lodges, and these were the perfect hunting grounds, full of people already obsessed with ritual secrecy and wearing fancy robes. But they didn't stop there. They also dropped an ad in a spicy little publication called Lucifer, edited by none other than Madame Helena Blavatsky. Blavatsky was the co-founder of another secret society known as the Theosophical Society, and her readers were exactly the kind of spiritually thirsty minds the Golden Dawn wanted. So before long, they gathered a strange and dazzling mix of recruits, intellectuals, mystics, artists, even celebrities, poets like W.B. Yeats, actresses like Florence Farr, and of course the man who would steal the show and try to burn it down, Aleister Crowley, a man who would someday be called the wickedest man in the world in The Great Beast 666. Ambitious and rebellious, Crowley quickly rose to the ranks like a rocket, and as we'll see later, he wanted more knowledge, more power, more secrets. And when he didn't get what he wanted, he literally tried to storm the temple, like physically. But we'll get to that chaos soon enough. The real question is, what was inside that temple that made Crowley, of all people, decide it was worth fighting for? What secrets were hidden behind those ritual chambers, those flaming swords and black mirrors? We're about to go a lot deeper, and trust me, it only gets weirder from here. Now, as the Golden Dawn begins to gain power and influence, you start to hear rumors that they claim that they're guided by otherworldly beings called the Secret Chiefs. Now, these are apparently ascended masters or spirits who dictated the teachings of the order. But who or what are these Secret Chiefs? Mathers claimed to be in direct contact with these beings that gave him instructions on how to structure the rituals and teachings of the Golden Dawn. But here's the question, were the Secret Chiefs real, or were they just Mathers' imaginary friends conveniently backing all his decisions? But if they were real, what kind of beings were they? See, the Golden Dawn wasn't just a chaotic group of mystics performing random rituals. No, it was extremely organized. Every member was placed in a grade, and you had to work your way up. The higher you climbed, the more knowledge and power you gained. So that's it. Your curiosity finally has gotten the better of you. The power, the knowledge, the secrets. It's too much, and you decide you want in. But the Golden Dawn isn't just going to let you waltz in like you're buying a gym membership. To even begin, you'll need to pass through a serious rite of passage and a structured system. See, the order was divided into 3 main orders, each one deeper, darker, and stranger than the last. The first order, or the Outer Order, was where new initiates began their training, learning the basics of occult knowledge, ritual magic, and mystical practices. The second order was the Inner Order, and it was about going beyond human. This is where powerful magical secrets were taught and where the founding members resided. The secrets of the Inner Order are exactly what Crowley wanted and what would lead to his revolt. Then finally, there's the Third Order, and this was the highest level, but not even the founding members were part of it. Instead, it was said to be comprised of the Secret Chiefs, supernatural, otherworldly beings. So how do you actually start this journey? Through initiation. Not a handshake and a secret password. We're talking a full-blown soul transformation, symbolic death, rebirth, inner alchemy. But why are initiations so central to secret societies like the Golden Dawn? Sheik and Tabitha Cicero, who are respected experts in the Golden Dawn tradition, write, "Initiation is the precursor of immortality." Okay, hold on. Could an initiation really spark the path to eternal life? Well, you're about to find out. So imagine you arrive at a secret location, a dark and quiet room. You're told that tonight, if you pass, you'll be entered as a neophyte, a newly planted seed in their ranks. Your eyes are blindfolded, and unlike the Freemasons who tie a rope around the neck, here the rope is wrapped around your waist, and you're led into the hall. Your blindfold is finally removed, and all around you are symbols that you can't yet understand, patterns that seem to speak a language that's beyond words. The members' voices echo as they guide you, sharing cryptic phrases, half-revealed truths. You're instructed to keep everything you see and hear from now on a secret. You take an oath, binding yourself to silence, and they say there are dire consequences if you break that oath. Okay, but what's all this really about? See, initiation isn't just a purely physical experience. In fact, it could happen on multiple levels. There are 2 main types of initiation in the Golden Dawn tradition, physical and astral. The physical initiation is the kind of initiation that involves the actual in-person ceremonies, dimly lit rooms, symbols, colors, sounds, rituals. This is for the purpose of communicating with your unconscious mind, but it also also gives you a sense of status and belonging to the group, as well as establishing your commitment. Then there's the astral initiation. Now, this type of initiation occurs on a totally psychological level. In an astral initiation, structures within your psyche begin to align and transform. In other words, it happens internally behind the scenes in your mind. So why go through such an intense process? To those in the Golden Dawn, initiation is a pathway to evolving beyond human. Sheik and Tabitha write, humankind has the potential for immortality, but only obtains when they align themselves with that immortal spiritual essence that underlies all aspects of the manifest universe. As you complete the initiation, you've taken your first step into this totally new world, and as a new member of the Golden Dawn, you are now a neophyte, meaning newly planted, and it's your first step in your journey. By the way, if exploring secret societies without blindfolds and ropes is more your thing, hit like and subscribe. I've got plenty more hidden teachings to reveal, no initiation required. And hey, we're more than just a YouTube channel, we're a revolution of consciousness, so help us spread this information. Also, check out my books on inner transformation, links are in the description below. So as a newly initiated neophyte, what do you begin to learn? Well, at this stage, you're introduced to the most foundational secrets of magic, but the most crucial lesson is about controlling the four elements: earth, air, fire, and water. Okay, but hold on, time for a reality check. I know this all sounds a little crazy, right? Magic, controlling the elements, secret chiefs. When people hear the word magic, they usually shut down, thinking it's just crazy nonsense. But here's the thing, magic isn't what most people think it is, and it's nothing like how Hollywood portrays it. So keep an open mind, because by the end, you'll see how it can actually be understood in a logical and rational way, and how it can totally transform your life. So what the hell is magic? One of your first lessons as a neophyte is that at its core, magic is about causing change in accordance with your will. Aleister Crowley said that even something as simple as lighting a cigarette is an act of magic. How? Well, let's use something a little more healthy than smoking. Since we're talking about forbidden knowledge here, an apple seems appropriate. So let's say that you want to eat an apple. First, you have the thought and desire to eat it, but there are steps involved. You pick up a knife, slice a piece off, and put it in your mouth and eat it. Congratulations, you just practiced magic. Seriously, magic is just about making thoughts into reality. And you had the thought of eating an apple and you made it happen. Think of it like this. If you've ever visualized success, used affirmations, or worked hard to manifest something in your life, you've already practiced a form of magic. So understood this way, magic isn't anything crazy. It's actually perfectly logical as long as we stay grounded in reason. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't. And that's why it starts to sound crazy. Anyway, all right, so now that you're getting the hang of this whole magic thing, let's talk about the two major types. There's practical magic or low magic, and this is about everyday desires. Think of it as using your focused intent for personal gain, like love, wealth, protection. It's the kind of magic that's down to earth and grounded in making changes in your life. Now, high magic, on the other hand, is what the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn really focused on. High magic isn't about getting stuff, it's about becoming something. It's about reaching higher states of consciousness and connecting with the divine and understanding the universe on a much deeper level. It's about becoming more than just human. So practical magic is about getting stuff, high magic is about evolving. Now, most people are interested in practical magic, getting stuff. Surprise, surprise. But what most people don't realize is that you can't be good at getting the stuff until you evolve. If magic worked like a flashlight, then high magic would be the battery that powers the whole thing. But how does magic actually work? It's not just about waving a wand or saying some mystical words. It's much more psychological and in many ways scientific and rational than you might think. When you practice magic, you're essentially learning to communicate with the deepest parts of your mind, your unconscious mind. Sheik and Tabitha write, the memorization of magical data changes the very structure of the psyche, which is gradually infiltrated by holy symbols that speak on a subconscious level to the divine being in each of us. Okay, if this is starting to sound a bit out there, let's ground it in something familiar. Psychology. The process of magic is about understanding and communicating with our unconscious mind, and Swiss psychologist Carl Jung studied this deeply. He proposed that our unconscious mind is a huge part of us that influences our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. But this part of our mind, it doesn't communicate in words. Instead, it speaks in symbols, images, archetypes, a universal language that resonates on a deeper, intuitive level. Israel Regardie, one of the most influential figures in the Golden Dawn tradition, writes, magical processes and symbols are receiving confirmation at the hands of experimental psychology. So when you perform magic, you're not casting lightning bolts or summoning ghosts. Sorry, Hollywood. You're realigning your psyche. It's like learning a secret code, but instead of having to hack a computer, you're hacking yourself. Think about it like this. Just as you might use words and pictures to communicate with other people, magical symbols are like a code that your unconscious mind understands at a deep primal level. And when you're able to communicate with that part of your mind, the potential for transformation is incredible. So after learning the basics of what magic is, you begin learning about how to control the 4 elements. Why? Because the 4 elements are a perfect example of how magic actually works. You've probably heard of them before: earth, air, fire, and water, but here's the thing. It's not about believing the world is literally made up of those elements. Obviously, that would be ridiculous in a scientific sense. Instead, each element represents an aspect of you. They're symbolic, and understanding them is like learning a new language that speaks directly to your unconscious mind. See, earth represents stability, grounding in your physical body. It's about the material world and how you stay connected to it, the grounded aspect of you. Air is hard to see, but it's a powerful force, just like your mind and words aren't something you can see. So air represents intellect, communication, and thought. Air is the mental aspect of you. Fire is about passion, energy, willpower. It's your drive, your courage, the part of you that takes action, pushes you forward. Fire is the willful part of you. Water represents emotions, intuitions, and the unconscious. It's about the flow of your feelings, your inner emotional world, and your ability to adapt and connect with others. Water is the intuitive and emotional aspect of you. Now, when you do something like perform a ritual involving balancing the 4 elements, you're not literally trying to control air, earth, fire, and water in the physical sense. What you're doing is using those elements as symbols to communicate with your unconscious. You're telling it to balance those different parts of yourself: your stability, earth; your thoughts, air; your drive, fire; and your emotions and intuition, water. Think of a ritual kind of like dreaming in reverse. A dream is your unconscious communicating with you through symbols. A ritual is you communicating to your unconscious with symbols. And the more fluently you can communicate with your unconscious, the more powerfully you can influence your reality. This is what true magic is about. Not about physically controlling the outside world, but mastering the one within. So after learning the basics of magic, you decide you want to rise up through the ranks. But how does that work exactly? Well, as an initiate in the Golden Dawn, your journey begins in the outer order, the first order. The Ciceros write, "In the outer order, the student must learn to realize and balance these 4 elements as indispensable ingredients of his/her own psychological and spiritual makeup." So your path unfolds through 5 grades, and I'm going to give you a brief outline of what you'd learn in each of them. Now, some of it might sound kind of out there and crazy, like astrology, tarot, summoning angels, but remember, all of it is symbolic, metaphorical. Just like fire isn't actually about fire, it's about willpower. The planets, angels, etc. aren't literal, but aspects of you. Now, I only have time to do an overview right now, but if you want a in-depth video and breakdown and interpretation of these symbols, let me know. So each grade you rise through corresponds to a sephira on the tree of life, and one of the 4 classical elements, and each has its own teachings that the student had to master before moving up. But first, what the hell is the Tree of Life? Well, it's an esoteric blueprint, and in the Golden Dawn, it's used as a map of the soul, consciousness, and spiritual growth. Now, as you move up the tree, think of it like levels in a video game, but the bosses are internal, and the loot is esoteric knowledge. So let's go step by step, from newbie to adept, and unravel what the Golden Dawn taught at each stage. First, there's the neophyte. 0 degrees equals 0 degrees. You've already taken the neophyte initiation, and that's when you swore an oath and entered blindfolded into the unknown. This is basically level 0. Now that's where your studies begin. The 4 elements and their qualities, the signs of the zodiac, the planetary symbols, the Hebrew alphabet, the 10 sephirot on the Tree of Life, and the foundational ritual of the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, which is essentially about invoking 4 archangels, 1 for each element, to clear your mind. But once you pass your first exam, you would then become a zealotor, 1 equals 10, and move to the first sephira on the Tree of Life called Malkut. In other words, this is level 1, and it's where your training gets serious, the element of earth. Here you begin to dig in. You really start to study everything in depth, and you'd learn alchemical terms like salt, sulfur, and mercury, but not as chemicals or actual physical elements, but as spiritual principles. You'd study the 4 worlds of Kabbalah and start journaling dreams dreams. Now, being related to the Earth, this is the foundational grade, the level 1 where everything is structured. Next, you'd rise to Theoricus, 2 equals 9, and associated with the element air, and Yesod on the Tree of Life. Here, you'd start to unlock the mysteries of the mind. You'd study the structure of the soul, the Nepesh, the Ruach, the Neshama, and begin to understand which parts of you dreams, which part thinks, and which part knows. You'd learn about the astral world and its illusions. Here, your intellect would be tested, your concentration sharpened. It's the element of air, or intellect after all. But hold on just a second. Something you might have thought is, what's with all the weird math? What do you mean 2 equals 9? Why does the Theoricus grade say 2 equals 9? Is this some weird occult Sudoku? Well, not exactly. Here's the secret. Those numbers mark your position on the path. The first number tells you how far you moved up through the grades of the order. The second number tells you how far away you are from the top. In other words, 2 equals 9 means you're 2 steps up from the bottom of the tree and 9 steps down from the top. It's like how far you've come versus how far you have left. Now, as a practicus, 3 equals 8, you'd move into the domain of water and the Sephirah Hod. This is where you start making real connections. Begin actual magical practice. Carefully and intentionally, you'd study planetary magic, gain a deeper understanding of how the tarot connects to the stars within you and the soul, and this is all about navigating the waters of the unconscious without drowning. Finally, you'd reach Philosophus, 4 equals 7. This was the last grade of the outer order and where things get hot. Literally, because here you confront fire, Netzach on the Tree of Life, emotion, desire, victory, and the fire element here meant 2 things. A test of the will, fire transforms, and the illumination of insight. As a Philosophus, you're expected to demonstrate self-control, because by this point, you've gained access to serious power, and nothing tests your maturity like being handed the matchbook. So now you're probably asking the same question every initiate eventually does. What's the real purpose of all this? If the outer order is about preparation, what are they preparing you for? Well, that's where things take a turn, because before you step into the inner order, where the real transformation begins, there's one final secret initiation, and that's where you're going next. The portal grade is a hidden level, and it's associated with the 5th element, a hidden element called spirit. Now, this isn't a grade in the usual sense. It's liminal, a space between world, a metaphysical waiting room before you reach the highest teachings of the Golden Dawn. Think of it like the occult backrooms. You're told this mysterious element of spirit is the force that ties everything together and harmonizes the other 4. But here's the twist. You are the 5th element. Think about it. You're the one that's been learning to organize all the other 4 elements. In the portal grade, you awaken the hidden 5th element within yourself, opening the doorway to a realm of knowledge that transcends human experience. In the portal grade, you'd be taught the middle pillar ritual, which is designed to prepare you for contact with something higher, something secret. And with this final outer initiation, you're finally ready to access the teachings of the inner order, a space where the real work of magic and self-transformation begin. This isn't just about human potential, it's about transcending humanity itself. So ask yourself, are you ready to cross the threshold? Because from here on out, there's no turning back. But wait, suddenly you hear some rumors, someone causing major problems. A member within the Golden Dawn is demanding access to the inner order, but not everyone's thrilled about it. That member is, of course, Aleister Crowley. Now, he's known for his ambition and obsession for power, and Crowley tore through the outer order's ranks, setting his sights on the inner mysteries almost immediately. But you also hear rumors that he's dabbling in dark magic. MacGregor Mathers, one of the co-founders of the order, saw Crowley's potential and became an ally. But the London Temple wasn't having it. They rejected him, and Crowley didn't take no lightly. He went straight to Mathers in Paris, who initiated him into the inner order and declared war on the London branch. Mathers expelled the entire London Temple and sent Crowley to seize their headquarters. And so began one of the most infamous episodes in occult history, the Battle of Blythe Road. Now, this is where we began, with Crowley dressed in ceremonial robes, mask on, equipped with a dagger, storming the temple, demanding control. Now, some accounts say that he cast spells to break their defenses. Others claim that he simply slipped in and locked everyone out, and then tried to get everyone to sign loyalty oaths. However it actually happened, most accounts ended the same way, with Crowley being thrown out and escorted away by police. So as you hear about Crowley's dramatic takeover, this leaves you with one question in your mind. What could be hidden within the Inner Order that would drive someone to risk everything? So imagine that you've spent years mastering the Outer Order, and now you're on the threshold of the Inner Order, where the secrets Crowley so desperately wanted await. So you knock, but not on a literal door, on a spiritual one, and that's when everything changes. During your initiation ceremony in the Inner Order, you take the oath of the Adeptus Minor, 5 = 6, and swear, I further promise and swear to purify and exalt my spiritual nature, so that with the divine aid I may at length attain to be more than human, and thus gradually raise and unite myself to my higher and divine genius. The grade of Adeptus Minor isn't just a title. It means you're no longer a student of theory. You're a practitioner, and this is a serious oath. The Ciceros write, with this oath, the Adeptus Minor of the Inner Order committed themselves to undertake consciously and deliberately that which was ordained as the birthright of all humanity to become more than human. As an Adeptus Minor, you begin practicing very powerful magic, and most importantly, you're given your true task, to achieve knowledge and conversation of the Holy Guardian Angel. See, the grade of Adeptus Minor is related to the central sphere on the Tree of Life, and represents the core of who you are. It's all about establishing a link between you and this higher divine self. Then, as you progress to higher grades, the goal becomes strengthening that link and bringing that higher self into the world. You become, in a sense, a prophet of your own holy guardian angel, understanding its message and will and embodying it in your actions and decisions. But remember, the holy guardian angel isn't separate from you. It is you, your truest and highest self, waiting to be fully realized. Israel Regardi writes, the ultimate objective of magic within the Order's framework was the realization of an elevated state of consciousness wherein the magician's psyche gradually enters into a union with the higher self. Now, if this starts sounding a little out there, you may be surprised that modern psychology explores a concept that's strikingly similar. In Jungian psychology, Carl Jung spoke of the higher self as the highest part and totality of the psyche, with the ego acting as its servant. According to Jung, the ego stands to the self as the moved to the mover, or as object to subject. In this view, the ego isn't the main driver. Instead, it's the self with a capital S, the highest part of us that directs our true path. This is the essence of what Jung called individuation, which is the process of aligning our ego with our highest, truest self, much like the journey in the Inner Order. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche described humanity as a bridge between what is and what could be. He wrote, humanity is a rope tied between beast and superhuman, a rope over an abyss. What is great in humanity is that they are a bridge and not an end. So Nietzsche's perspective on transcending limits perfectly complements the Golden Dawn's goal. The initiates aren't just learning, but evolving and becoming more than just human. Now, at this level, you also become responsible for teaching, mentoring, and initiating students in the Outer Order. But what comes next? If you complete the work of Adeptus Minor, and few do, you ascend to Adeptus Major, grade 6 = 5, one step deeper into the divine intellect, the sphere of strength and judgment. Here, you balance discipline and power. It's no longer just about invocation or ritual, it's about responsibility and strengthening your ability to lead and understand your true will and purpose. Beyond that is Adeptus Exemptus, 7 = 4, Chesed on the Tree of Life. At this level, you're a master. These grades were mostly honorary and held by the founding members like Mathers, Westcott, and a couple of the founders. They claimed Adeptus Exemptus, the ruler level. But only Mathers claimed he was taking orders from the secret chiefs themselves, and he used that connection to declare himself the ultimate authority. So let's imagine that you make it to the highest level of the Inner Order, but you realize there's one last mystery, an immense chasm known as the Abyss. On the other side lies the Third Order, a realm beyond human comprehension, a space where only the so-called secret chiefs are said to dwell. Even the founders of the Golden Dawn never crossed this divide. The grades of the Third Order were 8 = 3, Magister Templi, 9 = 2, Magus, 10 = 1, Ipsissimus. In the Golden Dawn, no one actually claimed these grades. They weren't just ranks, they were states of being, superhuman consciousness, divine alignment, reserved for the secret chiefs. The Cicero's right, the Third Order consists of the grade from Magister Templi to Ipsissimus. These grades are not attained by living initiates, therefore we need not discuss them here. Alright, so the Third Order remained a realm of mystery, and here's where you face a question that countless initiates have asked. Are these secret chiefs real? See, Aleister Crowley wasn't the only one frustrated by all the secrecy and power plays. Other members were too, and they started asking questions. What's really going on here? And by 1900, the Golden Dawn was already beginning to fracture. Mathers, who had positioned himself as the group's link to the secret chiefs, was now accused of mismanaging the order, even lying about his contact with them. It was also possible that Westcott and Mathers created the cipher manuscripts themselves to give credibility to the order. Members began asking the question you probably are right now. Was this all a lie? But here's the thing. Secret societies making claims of discovering mysterious artifacts and contact with higher beings isn't unique. Take Joseph Smith, for example. He was a Freemason and the founder of Mormonism, and he claimed he was shown golden plates by an angel, which he conveniently returned to heaven after he translated them. Or Maurice Doreal, who claimed he unearthed the 36,000-year-old emerald tablets of Thoth from Atlantis and was receiving transmissions from a group of ascended masters, basically his version of the secret chiefs. And shocker, he returned his tablets too. You start to see a pattern here, a mysterious manuscript, a claim of divine contact, a promise of hidden knowledge, and somehow the evidence always vanishes. But that's the point, it's a tactic. Myth and legend like this makes the leader's decisions seem more important, like they came from a higher place, and this is how they inspire awe and loyalty in their followers, even if they never actually see proof. So you have to ask, what was the real purpose of the Third Order? Were they actually ascended beings, or was it a tool for manipulation? Here's the unsettling part. While the Golden Dawn never fully revealed the secrets of the Third Order, it hinted at something a lot more shocking. Now, there's one thing commonly associated with secret societies that we haven't talked about yet. You've probably heard rumors about secret societies trying to control the world. And while we haven't gone into that today, what if I said it was connected to the Third Order? The highest level of the Golden Dawn was always about power beyond comprehension, power that could alter reality itself. But here's where things get even more shocking. After Aleister Crowley left the Golden Dawn, he claimed that he came into contact with a higher being of his own, who revealed to him a new spiritual law, Thelema. Crowley took this revelation as a mandate to forge his own path. He established Thelema as a religion, founded his own secret order known as the AA, and eventually took over yet another occult organization, the Ordo Templi Orientis, or OTO. But Crowley's ambitions didn't stop there. Unlike the Golden Dawn, which kept the Third Order on a distant, almost mythical level, Crowley believed that humans could indeed reach it if they crossed something known as the Abyss, and the power there is unbelievable. So if you're curious about what the Third Order really represents, their mysterious degrees, and whether it's connected to something that transcends not just personal power, but control over reality itself, let me know in the comments and I'll make a video all about it. So imagine that after all your dedication, the countless rituals, and the journey through each level, the Golden Dawn eventually splinters and falls apart. Now imagine yourself standing at the crossroads. Do you join one of the splintered groups trying to revive the Golden Dawn's teachings? Or do you follow Crowley into his new order, seeking the power and the unknown that he promised? Or do you leave it all behind and forge your own path, finding your own way to the truths that are hidden within? The choice is yours to make, because in the end, every seeker must decide whether to follow or to create. Now, keep in mind that throughout this journey, I've greatly simplified many of the details. It would, of course, be impossible to cover everything here, but this at least gives you a general idea, a taste of what the overall process was about. But there's one final secret I need to share with you, and it might be the most powerful secret of all. The truth is, you don't need to join a secret society, swear an oath, or search for hidden manuscripts to access this knowledge. Everything you've been seeking, the power, the wisdom, the tools for transformation, they're already within you. You hold the key. The Cicero's right, you need neither to travel to the mountaintop nor obtain any tool other than your own consciousness. No garment need you other than that of your own imagination. No authority need you other than that of your own true will. The problem with heavy secrecy is that it often attracts the wrong kind of people. People who aren't there for enlightenment or growth at all, but for power and control. And that's where things start to get dark and dangerous. When you have a system built around secrecy, it creates the perfect environment for manipulation. There's no accountability, no transparency. Secrets can be used as leverage, whether through blackmail, coercion, or worse. The potential for abuse in these environments is very real. Now, I'm not saying that all secret societies are like that, but let's be honest, a system that relies so heavily on keeping things hidden can easily lead to people with bad intentions rising to power. It's easy for things to go wrong when no one's watching and everyone's sworn to silence. So before you're tempted by the allure of hidden knowledge or secret groups, remember, everything you need is right here, in you. The journey to higher consciousness, self-understanding, and personal power shouldn't be a privilege for the select few. It belongs to all of us. You don't need a gatekeeper or a secret society to unlock your potential. The tools are in you. Know yourself, and you will know the universe and the gods, because you are the universe and the gods. But what if I told you that Jesus Christ was actually a secret magician, but the church tried to hide it? Check out my video, The Lost Magic of Jesus Christ. It'll change the way you see everything.